Hello children, today we are going to learn about the poem The Ant and the Cricket. The Ant and the Cricket is a fable written in the form of a poem by Greek writer Aesop. A fable is a short story in which animals behave like humans and convey a message through a teeny tiny ant teaches us a significant lesson for life. The lesson not only pertains to the four legged cricket but is also applicable in situations concerning two legged crickets, which are humans. So, he wanted to give this lesson to humans, and he is comparing here cricket with human beings. So, now let's know about the summary of the poem. The poem The Ant and the Cricket begins with the story of a silly, thoughtless, and young cricket who was used to sing day and night throughout the months of summer and spring. As soon as the winters approached, he began complaining about his empty cupboard. On the snow covered ground, he could not find even a single crumb to eat. He had no shelter and could see no flowers or leaves on trees. He gets worried as to what will happen to him without the food and shelter. Soaked in rain, struck by hunger, and in the situation of scarcity of food, he decided to seek the help of the tiny ant. He only wanted to borrow and intended upon repaying it tomorrow. A mouthful of grain and shelter from the rain was all he asked for. Without this, he must die of starvation and misery. The ant, however, had a policy: they neither borrow. The ant asked the cricket what he did all summer and spring when there was ample food and water. He told the ant that he sang day and night all the time without planning about the future. The ant further advises him to similarly dance the winter away. The ant then throws him out of the door. The poet mentions how people think it to be only a fable, but he thinks otherwise and he ever justifies his opinion. There are lots of crickets like him, four legged and two legged, who irresponsibly waste all their time without planning for unsuitable circumstances. Here, the poet is talking about human beings who are also careless, irresponsible, not thinking about their future, only enjoying today. They are not planning to do the things what is going to happen in the future. So now we are going to understand the poem stanza wise. A silly young cricket, accustomed to sing through the warm sunny months of gay summer and spring, began to complain when he found that at home his cupboard was empty and winter was come. Not a crumb to be found on the snow covered ground, not a flower could he see, not a leaf on a tree. Oh, what will become, says the cricket, of me? So let us understand the difficult words first. Accustomed to sing, used to singing, in the habit of singing. Gay, light hearted, and carefree. Crumb, small pieces of bread, cake, or biscuits. Now comes the explanation of the stanza. The poem introduces us to a young and thoughtless cricket who is used to sing in the warm and sunny months of the light hearted summer and spring. The months of spring and summer have been called gay because there is greenery everywhere. As you all have seen that there is greenery and everything is blooming. Food and other resources are also sufficient during these seasons. As the winter season came, he realized that his cupboard at home was empty. He began complaining as soon as he realized that he could not even find a single crumb or morsel to eat on the snow covered ground. There were no flowers or leaves in sight as it was the winter season. He became worried as to what will happen to him without food and water or shelter. So he is not having food, he is not having shelter, so he is worried about what is going to happen to him because he has saved nothing. Now, next stanza. At last, by starvation and famine made bold, all dripping with wet and all trembling with cold. Away he set off to a miserly ant to see if, to keep him alive, he would grant him shelter from rain and a mouthful of grain. He wished only to borrow, he would repay it tomorrow. If not, he must die of starvation and sorrow. So let us know about some difficult words, children. Famine, extreme scarcity of food, trembling, shaking or quivering, miserly, small. Now explanation of the stanza. When there was extreme scarcity of food and he was struck by hunger, all drenched in water and shaking with cold, he was feeling very cold. He decided to seek help from tiny ants. He thought that now I will take help from the tiny ants. He wished for them to help him stay alive by providing him a roof over his head to protect himself from rain and something to eat. He wanted that ant should give him shelter and something to eat. His intention was to only borrow and he planned on repaying it tomorrow when he was in the right shape. He was in a condition that if he did not get any help, he would lose his life to starvation and misery. Says the ant to the cricket, I am your servant and friend. But we ants never borrow, we ants never lend. But tell me, dear cricket, did you lay nothing by? When the weather was warm, caught the cricket, not I. My heart was so light that I sang day and night. For all nature looked gay. You sang, sir, you say. Go then, says the ant, and dance the winter away. So now let us learn about difficult words. Lay nothing by, save nothing. Quoth, said. Now explanation of the stanza. On hearing the cricket, the ant replied that he can consider them his friend or even his servant, but it is the policy of the ants to neither borrow nor lend. Now ants here are saying that they neither borrow nor lend. The ant further asked the cricket if he saved nothing during the summer season when there was abundance of food and resources. Now here ant is inquiring whether he has saved anything or not. The cricket replied by telling the ant that he did not save anything because he was so happy and light-hearted when it was warm that he was singing day and night. He did not think of plan for the future when the weather was gay. So the ant tells him to go away and pass the winter by the same way he passed the summer, by dancing. Just like he passed the summers by singing. So here ant deny to help the cricket. Thus ending, he hastily lifted the wicket and out of the door turned the poor little cricket. Fox called this a fable. I will warrant it true. Some crickets have 4 legs and some have 2. So now let us understand some difficult words. Hastily, with excessive speed or urgency, hurriedly, lifted the wicket, put an end to the conversation. Fable, a short story typically with animals as characters, conveying a moral. Warrant, justify. Now comes the explanation of the poem. After telling to dance the winter away, the ant quickly put an end to the conversation and kicked the miserable cricket out of the door. The poet mentions that a lot of people think it is an untrue story of an ant and the cricket. But the poet is of another opinion. He mentions there are crickets with 4 legs and there are some with 2 legs. Here poet is talking about human beings who are lazy like cricket, who doesn't save anything for their future, who don't save anything for their future. Which means there are insects and even human beings that live like the cricket. They do not prepare or plan for the future and regret when the time is gone. So children, the moral of the poem is that we should be like ants, not like the crickets.